Good morning to everyone. And we are going to attend or be a part of a very, very unique program that has happened in Manipal. We will see that part of this program will run in English and another, most of it in Kannada at a later time. It is very, very unique for this reason that, to my best of my knowledge and belief, in Manipal, there was never a program that happened entirely on grammar, that too the Dravidian or Kannada grammar for that matter. We are fortunate to have a person who is as mad as me, if you want to call that so. Amshuman KR from Bangalore, who is an engineer by profession, like quite a few of the people that we have got here. He specialized in K8S, a particularly short and a small branch of computer science, which is right at the fore of things. To add to the trouble, he also is learned Veena and a musician by chance. He will tell about that later. But he is interested in grammar. And the kind of introduction that he wanted to write and the way that he wanted to present his ideas about Kannada grammar and the grammar in particular of all the languages is of great importance, according to me. So when he told me that he wanted to talk to me just because I tried to clear or write about a similar subject in one of the blunders that I committed, write a novel. And the last portion of it is exactly a tribute to Panini, one of the greatest grammarians who has ever lived on this earth, for that matter. We'll talk about that later when the time comes. But in fact, whatever that I wrote was a tribute to Panini and nothing more. A man who can understand the entire start of a language in phonetics and end up with a set of rules which correspond to a meta language in that sense, a language which is fictitious or not really proper, a prescriptive grammar for a language that can sort of encompass and cover everything that is there in knowledge. That is the great contribution of Panini. It is impossible to say how he wrote that book, but what made him write such a book and what was available to him at that time is known. So that was the reason I wrote that book. Now, when it came to discussing the entire problem, this young man wanted to discuss the book with me. And then I came to know that he has done some work on Kannada grammar, some contributions of his own, which he wants to present to people just to check whether he is right or wrong. Whatever be the kind of problems whatever that we create, only when we talk it over to a few people, we know whether it is correct or not, or acceptable or not. Even Panini would have faced that problem. That is why I put the entire work of Panini into a seminar that happened in Takshashila some 2,500 years earlier to today in my book. Doesn't matter. That is secondary and useless for that matter. But at least in the present day, such a thing has to happen. That is why I brought in or encouraged this. MIC and Shubha in particular was very happy to support and sort of encourage such an activity. And that is why we are all here, just to listen to him whenever that he comes to. I've got a little introduction to this also to tell. This part of it possibly I should tell in Kannada, because as usual, we'll have a lot of mixtures of things that happen. It was a long time back that I heard about Douglas Hofstadter, a neuroscientist, a philosopher, and a learner of many things, who sort of talked about a unification of many ideas. He was talking about three great creators and intellectuals of his time, the things that you could name approximately as Escher, Gödel, and Bach. The three people belong to different disciplines of knowledge, but there was a golden thread that ran through all their work. Something like a similarity, or something like a common factor, something like a common platform. If I just to give a bad example, that happened just sort of came off yesterday. Whenever we learn a second language, we learn it on the template of our mother tongue and try to fit it into that, maybe pigeonholing as he says sometimes, push in some of the things into whatever that we have. Try to create new holes where you can introduce based on whatever you already have. This is exactly the kind of concept that possibly could happen to any language which has to grow and develop. Very fortunately, it has not happened to one language that exists in this country, which now we call by the name Sanskrit. But it is Panini's sort of prescriptions that have made a language stable and so perfect that it cannot be broken. It is impossible to teach, as you know, from Panini's book. Technically, we call it Sutra Pata, but where we just make people mug up the entire book, possibly without even understanding the intricacies of whatever that is done. It in fact waited for a long time someone else to come up and tell us that these are the things that are already included in the book. Especially Professor Raghavan, when he talked about it, we came to know what the entire thing was about, as it happens. Very surprisingly, two people who belong to entirely a different discipline, Swamijis for that matter, the entire Arya Samaj, believed in Panini's work as a sort of a seminal issue that has happened in this world, and they gave a lot of importance to that. That is exactly the reason Swami Dayananda Saraswati has written a 6-volume detail about Panini's Ashtadhyayi, and it is with the help of that we try to understand or tend to understand it better in this kind of sense. Now, the bit of Kannada that I wanted to talk about, ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇರುವಾಗ 2-3 ಸಣ್ಣ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕಾಯಿತು ಈ ಅರ್ಥದಲ್ಲಿ. ಒಂದನೆಯದಂದರೆ, ನಮ್ಮ ಒಂದು ಅಂಶ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲಿರುತ್ತದೆ. ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡದ ವಿಭಕ್ತಿ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಯಗಳು, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಸೇರಿಸಿಕೊಂಡಿರುವ ವಿಭಕ್ತಿ ಪ್ರತ್ಯಯಗಳ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಇವುಗಳ ವೈಶಿಷ್ಟ್ಯಗಳೇನು, ಇವುಗಳ ಕೊನೆಗಳೇನು, ಇವುಗಳ ಕಷ್ಟಗಳೇನು ಎನ್ನುವ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಟಿ ಭಟ್ರು ಪರ್ಟಿಕ್ಯುಲರ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ವಿಶೇಷವಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಪರಭಾಷೆಗಳ, ಜರ್ಮನ್ ಮತ್ತು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ ಭಾಷೆಗಳ ವ್ಯಾಕರಣಗಳ ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಮ್ಮ ವಿಭಕ್ತಿಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ಸೇರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಳಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಅನುವಾದದಲ್ಲಿ, ಭಾಷಾಂತರದಲ್ಲಿ ಇದರ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳು ಏನು, ಯಾವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾವ ಪ್ರಿಫಿಕ್ಸನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಸಫಿಕ್ಸನ್ನು, ಪೂರ್ವಪದವನ್ನು ಅಥವಾ ಪರಪದವನ್ನು ವಿಭಕ್ತಿಯಾಗಿ ಸೇರಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾಗ್ತದೆ, ಇದರ ಸಮಸ್ಯೆಗಳೇನು ಎನ್ನುವ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ಆಳವಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನವನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ನಾವು ಇದರಿಂದ ಏನಾದರೂ ಕಲೀಲಿಕ್ಕಿದೆಯಾ? ನಮ್ಮ ಕನ್ನಡ ಭಾಷೆಯನ್ನೇ ಒಂದು ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸುಧಾರಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ಹೆಚ್ಚು ಜನಪ್ರಿಯಗೊಳಿಸಬೇಕಾಗಿದ್ದರೆ, ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಿನ ವ್ಯಾಕರಣದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಏನನ್ನು ಕಲಿತುಕೊಳ್ಬೋದು? ಇದನ್ನು ಒಂದು ಅಂತಾರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಭಾಷೆಯಾಗಿ ಮಾಡಬೇಕಿದ್ದರೆ ಸುಲಭದಲ್ಲಿ ಎಲ್ಲ ಭಾಷೆಗಳಿಗೂ ಅನುವಾದ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಅಥವಾ ಅರ್ಥ ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಳಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯಬೇಕಿದ್ದರೆ ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷಿನಿಂದ ನಾವು ಏನನ್ನು ಪಡೆದುಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಏನನ್ನು ಕಲಿತುಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ಯೋಚನೆ ಮತ್ತು ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸೆ ಅಗತ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗಾದರೂ ಇದು ನಮ್ಮ ಅಂಶುಮಾನ್ ಅವರ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ನಲ್ಲಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಅಂತ ನಾನು ನೆನೆಸಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೇನೆ. ಅದಕ್ಕಾಗಿ ಮೊದಲನೇ ಭಾಗವನ್ನು ಇಂಗ್ಲೀಷ್ನಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಎರಡನೇ ಭಾಗ ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಇರುವಂಥದ್ದು ಅನುಸ್ವಾರ ಮತ್ತು ಅನುಸ್ವಾರದ ಉಚ್ಚಾರ, ಇದರ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾದೇಕಲ್ಲು ವಿಷ್ಣು ಬಂತಂಥವರು, ಸೈಡ್ಯಾಪ್ ಕೃಷ್ಣ ಭಟ್ರಂಥವರು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಭಾಳ ಆಳವಾದ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಮಾಡಿ ತುಂಬ ಕೆಲಸ ಮಾಡಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರ ಯೋಚನೆಗಳು ಏನು, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತಕ್ಕೂ ಕನ್ನಡ ಭಾಷೆಗೂ ಏನು ಸಂಬಂಧಗಳು ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ, ಸಂಸ್ಕೃತದಿಂದ ನಾವು ಕಣ್ಣು ಮುಚ್ಚಿ ಇದ್ದ ಹಾಗೆ ತೆಗೆದುಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾ ಅಥವಾ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳನ್ನು ಮಾಡಿಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕಾ, ಪ್ರಾದೇಶಿಕ ಭಾಷೆಗಳಿಗೆ ಇದರಿಂದ ಏನು ಉಪಯೋಗ ಇದೆ, ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾವ ರೀತಿಯಲ್ಲಿ ಅವುಗಳನ್ನು ಬದಲಾಯಿಸಿಕೊಳ್ಬೇಕು, ಬದಲಾವಣೆ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದನ್ನು ಕೂಡ ಎರಡನೇ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಮಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ಚರ್ಚಿಸಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಸಾಧ್ಯ ಇದೆ. ಭಾಳ ಪ್ರತಿಯೊಂದು ಕೂಡ ಭಾಳ ವಿಸ್ತಾರವಾದ ವಿಷಯಗಳು, ಆದರೆ ಅದನ್ನು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಮೂರನೇ ಭಾಗ ಇದೆ. ಮೂರನೇ ಭಾಗದಲ್ಲಿ ರಾಘವನ್ ನಂಬ್ಯಾರ್ ಅವರು ಮತ್ತು ನಮ್ಮ ಪದ್ಮನಾಭ ಕೇಕುಣ್ಣಯ್ಯರು ಮತ್ತು ಇತರರು ನೀವೆಲ್ಲ ಸೇರಿ ಕೂಡ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಅಭಿಪ್ರಾಯಗಳನ್ನು ಹೇಳಬೇಕು. ದ್ರಾವಿಡ ಭಾಷೆಗಳಿಗೂ ಕನ್ನಡಗಳಿಗೂ ಏನು ಸಂಬಂಧ, ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಆದ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ಯಾಕೆ ಆದವು, ಅಂಥದ್ದೇ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಭಾಷೆ ತುಳುವಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗಳು ಹೇಗೆ ವಿಶೇಷ ರೂಪ ಪಡೆದುಕೊಂಡು ಇದರಿಂದ ಏನು ಗೊತ್ತಾಯಿತು, ನಮಗೆ ಏನು ತಿಳಿಯಿತು ಅನ್ನೋ ವಿಷಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಜಿಜ್ಞಾಸೆ ಪುನಃ ನಡಿಬೇಕಾಗಿದೆ. ಇದನ್ನು 3ನೇ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಿಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲ ಸಹಕಾರವನ್ನು ಇದರಲ್ಲಿ ಕೊಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇವೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಯಂಗ್ ಹುಡುಗ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡಿದವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಹಾಗೆ ದಾರಿ ತಪ್ಪದಿರಲಿ, ಒಂದು ಏನಾದರೂ ಅವನಿಂದ ಲೋಕಕ್ಕೆ ಉಪಕಾರ ಆಗಲಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುವ ನಿಮ್ಮ ಆಶೀರ್ವಾದಗಳನ್ನು ಬೇಡಿಕೊಂಡು ಅವನನ್ನು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಮುಂದೆ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, ಅವನ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟೇಷನ್ಗಳು ಒಟ್ಟಿಗೆ. ಪದ್ಮರಾಣಿಯವರು ನಮ್ಮ ಮೇಲೆ ಪ್ರೀತಿ ಇಟ್ಟು ಬಂದಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಇದಕ್ಕೆಲ್ಲ ನಮ್ಮ ಈ ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಅನುಮತಿ ಕೊಟ್ಟಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ಅವರಿಗೆ ಧನ್ಯವಾದಗಳೊಟ್ಟಿಗೆ ನಿಮ್ಮಿಂದ ಒಂದು 2 ಮಾತುಗಳನ್ನು ಕೇಳಿ ಆಸೆ ಪಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ. ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ.
Good morning to all of you. I'm not as fluent as P Rao sir, and it's very his humbleness that he places all of us on a high pedestal. I don't think I even know 1/10 or 1,000th of what he knows, and every morning in our little interactions that we have, we do get a lot of information and knowledge from him. And I'm very happy that all of you have agreed to come here and interact, and also, an idea that he came up with, and all of you have supported him in his idea, and I think it's a dream like him for coming true, because he's been very excited for the last few days when he came up with this idea, and I immediately, when it came up to me and Shubha came, I said, yes, we will surely do it. And coincidentally, today also happens to be a Hindi language day. 14th September is celebrated as a Hindi language day across the country. But being a multilingual person, grown up in a multilingual environment in India, I can tell you language has a big role to play in all our adjustments and, interactions with everybody. I cannot speak Kannada even now after staying in Manipal for so long. But I do understand whatever sir has spoken or others speak. I still mix up my Tamil with Kannada, and that's what, So, but I think, the way he was talking about grammar and things, it's very true that the language that we all learn first is where when we start learning other languages, we try to correlate with it and we give it an importance. And I think in the growing times when always the STEM subjects are given more of importance, language is something that people like you and us can coordinate and help the language to grow further, and people to encourage the sweetness of the language, because each language has its own unique ways, and we need to preserve and pass it on to the next generation. So thank you all and welcome, and thank you all for being at MIC and choosing MIC for this important discussion. Thank you all.
I think I should continue. It is only to thank you all on his behalf for coming down, and also on my behalf. Please hand over some flowers to our newcomers into the thing.